So one of the things that we're asking folks to do is please sign the Oregon DA for the People platform. As individuals, we can tell the government that this is important to us and that we support the community-led process and these community-led demands, and also that we support the power of the district attorney to determine whether these, to decline to prosecute and to do a lot of other things that are within the discretionary powers of the district attorney. So that's a real easy ask, and I'll email that out, but there's also a bit.ly for that. So if you're familiar with bit.lys, it's bit.ly/, and then all capital letters ORDASIGN, like ORDA, like sign the Oregon DA for the People platform, ORDA sign. So we are going to send the petition. There are over 550 signatures when I looked earlier this afternoon of individuals. There are 23 organizations that have signed on in support of our petition to Billy J. Williams, who is the U.S. Attorney of Oregon that needs to be stopped from taking the power from the local area. So we will send that off to him tomorrow. We'll be mailing that out. I have no email for him. This is like how mysterious this whole and inaccessible this whole process is. No one called me back to give me an email or help me at all. And I didn't tell them what I was doing. I just like, can I have the email? No one called back from a number of different offices. And there's, so we're gonna mail that. I'm gonna print it out and mail it to him. And we're trying to figure out the next target. So the next thing that we're going to do to stop this power grab. And Mike German had some great guidance for us, so I appreciate that. We are going to start an Amplify team to amplify the legislative priorities of Pacific Northwest Family Circle, because if we can't get justice for the loved ones, then we have to look in other areas. So to at least stem the tide of police violence, and families have put a lot of effort into our legislative priorities, and they've given their loved ones unwillingly for this cause and have a lot of lived experience and knowledge. And so, yeah, we need to, the first priority is punishing police. So I'm going to open it up. I'm going to invite everybody to join us on video, and I want to just ask the family members if they have any additional thoughts that they want to add about this, or yeah. So the family members in attendance today are April Savvy, the wife of loved one Remy Savvy, Stephanie Babb, sister of loved one Captain Brian A. Babb, and Mary Barbie, who is the cousin of loved one Wesley Allen Barbie and the mother of loved one Melvin Lewis Dillon. I want to invite you all to speak if you have anything that you want to add. Any thoughts?
I'll say something, Maria. I wanted to.
We can't hear you, April.
Is this better?
Yeah, that's better. Yep.
Okay. I wanted to thank Clayton and Mike for coming tonight and taking the time out of their day to spend with us and to tell their story and to help us understand your perspective and what you're experiencing. I personally am not going to any of the protests. I'm absolutely afraid of the police. And even just getting pulled over, I'm just deathly afraid of what an officer might think, and I might die. Just, so I really appreciate your time, and I can't think of any questions for either of you right now, but if I do, I will filter them to Maria, and go that way. But I just wanted to say thank you for your time and for listening.
Mhm. Yeah. What about Mary? Am I on? I can see the little green box around me right there, but I can't hear you. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I want to second that. I want to really thank you guys for taking the time and being on here. This is the first time that we've done this in this kind of format, and it takes a little bit of time and trying to get the information out, because I know that all of us have such important things to say that I know people need to hear, especially in these times, and that you guys are on the front lines and you guys are doing the work that people like myself and I know other family members have a hard time doing because of what just April just said. We are affected so viscerally, and like Clay was saying, when you get arrested or you have things like that happen to you, it is so traumatic. And so when you have a family member that's killed, it affects you so much, and it never goes away. You're always associated with that. And Michael, the information you have is immense. I really want to hear what Mary has to say, but I just want to put out there. So I follow a lot of sites all over Oregon. I find that that's really important on both sides. And so when I say patriots and protesters, the only reason I'm doing that, because y'all know where I lay on that side, but there's been a lot of talk about arsons. And since I've personally had family members with their houses burned down and evacuated, and there's a lot of information out on the internet right now about Antifa starting these fires. And I want to say that there's absolutely, unequivocally no confirmation. There's no proof. That is not happening. Okay. And that's erroneous information that I want to stop right here, right now. Just the fact that people would even put that out there is so upsetting to me, and that's why I'm addressing it. I want to say that it doesn't matter. Once you start a catastrophic fire that affects so many, you've now relinquished your privilege to associate yourself with any political belief. You are now just a fucking arsonist. So, and I have proof that there have been fires started near Ashland and Medford by people, not anybody associated with Black Lives Matter or Antifa or anything else. I know personally that the Black Unity, Black Lives Matter, the organizations here in Eugene have done an amazing job putting money together and cards and going to the Red Cross Center and helping these people that have to be evacuated. And my appreciation, that's where our activism comes in. It's not just protesting, it's really helping the community. And that's what I find is so important. And that's why when we show up to a platform like this and talk about what's really going on, this is what's important, is that we communicate this to everybody and everybody understands what's happening. So sorry, get a little emotional, but
for any of this. No, you're good. I have a question for can you expand on why this
Maria, your audio is hard to hear.
Can you expand on why this narrative, this good protester, bad protester narrative is so harmful for the movement and for the democracy? Could you hear me?
who are you talking to, me or
Mike or Clay?
I thought it was, yeah.
Anyone though, really.
So it's an old tactic when there's protests, particularly protests against police department, for the police leaders and the state and local government leaders to try to portray the protesters as outside agitators. And the reason is twofold. One, to disempower the protesters themselves and the reason that they're coming out to protest, to suggest the reason these people are here isn't really because they're concerned about police violence and being unaccountable, but because these mysterious outsiders have provoked them to act. And so it's not just to discredit the movement, but also to give the police a wider berth to use violence against the protests, right? If people in the community that police are sworn to protect are protesting police violence and the police acknowledge that, it's hard to use violence against them. But if the police can convince the rank and file that this isn't the community you're sworn to protect, these are this outside force, however you want to frame it, it then gives the police license to use a higher degree of violence indiscriminately against those protesters. And of course, it's not surprising that that's the result that we see.
Anyone else want to comment on that question? Yeah, I thought that was a great answer too. maybe family members could talk a little bit about what you think is the most effective way to end police violence. We have got our legislative priorities, right? We want to discipline police, but maybe we could expand on that.
Well, I'll just say that I hadn't intended on saying anything tonight, but since Stephanie put me on the spot, the legislative procedures, that's the one thing I think needs to be really pushed and focused on, because until we get an independent oversight committee to hold the police accountable for killing our loved ones, this is not going to change. Just today, another person's loved one was killed in Dallas by the police officers. Of course, they fired 4 of them, but that doesn't change the fact, that doesn't bring that young man back, you know. So I think that I don't know what to do, but what we're doing right now is to try to put forth the efforts in addressing these issues and pushing it to the legislators so that we can try and get some laws passed to hold them accountable and just totally abolish qualified immunity, because that's what they use as their scapegoat. They use that as the reason, you know, that they fear for their lives. Excuse me, but that's bullshit. You know, they're armed, and these people that they're killing they don't have any arms. And even if they did, they could shoot them in the leg and disable them. They don't have to do a kill shot. But from what I understand now, that's the way that they're trained to do. They're trained to kill, and that needs to change. And I think that's about all I have to say.
Thanks, Mary. That was great.
Yeah. And I want to just say right behind Mary that we got to do something about qualified immunity. I'm all in for trying to reduce, broaden or get rid of qualified immunity, change the law on that somehow, because there's just no accountability. There's no accountability on the part of police. I mean, they have carte blanche, and listening to these protesters, it really just freaks me out, because all those officers have to do is just say, "Oh, I feared for my life," and they could kill you. And oh well. I mean, just throw another body on the pile. I mean, they really don't care. They have dehumanized all of us. I mean, I don't understand. Police are sworn to serve and protect. And there are many police that think they're sworn to protect themselves, not the community. The lines have been too blurred, and they've lost sense of being human anymore.
Yep.
And like Mary says, they're trained to kill. And it's got to change. We've got to rise above the violence and be better. And changing the law seems to be the only effective way to do it right now in this climate. So, that's where I'm at, whatever we can do to change the laws to get people to start listening.
Not only that, Stephanie, let me expand on that too. They use the excuses they feared for their lives, right? Well,
Yeah.
it was just brought to my attention to let's use this phrase. If you fear for your life, let us help you. What can we do to make you less fearful of your life? And what is it that's causing you to be so afraid of that innocent individual that you're pointing that weapon at? What is in your character? Are you using steroid drugs? Or are you on amphetamine, something that's giving you that paranoid fixation in your mind that you have to fear from that person that you're killing right now, or that is running away from you?
It's almost like a projection.
Yes. So that's why qualified immunity needs to be either abolished or a different set of a code of, their codes need to change. They're not on a war field. They're not in the military. They're civilians. These are civilians. What makes you think you have to be militarized to go in communities of civilians and act according to a military stance? You're not at war. This is not a war zone you're in. But when you go out, you create these. You're the reason. The police are the reason that these things escalate, because I've seen it. Peaceful protests, and as soon as the police come, they instigate, and then they use the fact that if you say something to them that they don't like, you're resisting arrest, and they become violent towards you. I don't get that.
Yeah. If I can even just compliment Mary, and including April, what April was saying, currently right now in the state of Oregon, we have in our legislature a joint committee on transparent policing and use of force. And they have 4 LCs that they're currently pushing.
Legislative concepts.
Yes, legislative concepts. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Regarding, what policing looks like, and that's the start, right? And one of them also being a legislative concept behind qualified immunity. Now, what's happening right now is that there isn't enough of us getting in and participating and amplifying and pushing the boundaries in which they're currently they're drafting, right? We want more out of it. And what they are currently getting in mass is pushback against it, more of it. And it's what happens is that there's folks out here who, the reason why we're sitting and living within laws and structures that actually protect police more and more as time goes by, and these structures are continually being built to protect them and save them from accountability rather than actually holding them in accountability, is because that has been the power of white privilege. That has been the access that the white voter has had and has been protected with. And what it is that, you know, we need our white allies and our Black, brown, and indigenous bodies to be able to find ways to be able to overcome some of the hurdles that we have to deal with socioeconomically in life, and find a way to basically civically engage in this process. And we are getting close. I don't want to say that we're getting there, but you know, the fact that we have a POC commission, you know, we have a joint committee on transparent policing and use of force. We have this there. They're trying to have this conversation. If we can encourage a way to be able to be present and push harder with the things that they're currently trying to legislate for us to hopefully protect us, that'd be a
Right.
great start.
But that being said, they're killing us before we get the opportunity to do that. You know?
I can take a minute here, just a second. So one of these things that we need to recognize, whether it's a civilian oversight review board or anything else, is that if they don't have the power to do anything, they're called suggestions. That's a PowerPoint presentation. They don't have to do anything. So there's another point here, is that to protect and serve is a slogan, not a job qualification. So if you want to know something about policing, you need to look where they don't show you. You need to look at what you can't see right there. You look at the 1033 program, and there's your defunding. Look at Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman. Look up Killology. You want to see what they believe? That's what they believe. That's how they have no hesitation to kill you, because that plays into qualified immunity. Qualified immunity is an antiquated, arbitrary, vague law that needs to be abolished. That's what needs to be abolished.
Now, I do want to say that the 1033 program, the federal 1033 program, is free money. You can't defund what's free, but yes, making
you
sure
can
that
you
we're
can deny
highlighting
it.
these. Yes, we need to be able to highlight these particular programs as well. This free money that's given to Mayberries to militarize them, right? And I mean, the smallest of towns with like a cop, a sheriff are getting militarized equipment. You know,
Yeah, let's make this really clear.
The bigger ones get.
That's right. My brother, a veteran, he was on the phone with his VA therapist, and she called to do a well check. They brought in SWAT, put snipers on his roof, and brought in a Bearcat. He was dead 45 minutes later. He didn't have a weapon in his hands. He came to his front door to tell him to get the fuck off his property, because he had every goddamn right to do so. So when you have somebody who's military, knows what their rights are, and you have police being given militarized equipment and weapons and everything else and not have the training, that's when you get the problems that we have. And that's when we get people killed, because they don't know what the hell they're doing and they don't care.
They become Rambo. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely.
I actually, so I don't remember exactly how old I was. I believe I was about 17 or 18 years old when Mary's grandson was killed. And it was right down the street from where I lived in Inglewood. And I remember most of the community organizing happened at our barbershop in the Cut. And I remember just participating and kind of listening into, like, understanding, like, us trying to break down the community response. And you're talking about in the late 90s. You know, the late 90s, when this police force approached this young man fully militarized and took him down without question, you know, as instantly and as quickly as they could.
Yes. That was my cousin.
Your cousin, that's right.
Yes.
Your cousin.
And a lot of the militarization and everything else started with the protests when you were talking about the environmentalists. That's why you're talking about the 90s. So you're talking about ELF and the beginning of this that started here in Eugene and moved up through Portland to Seattle, WTO. So there's a history here, right? There's a history. These cops are learning how to do this, how to attack protesters, the agitators and everything else, the information they're putting out there. I mean, there's arsons out there, and they're claiming that we are doing this.
Mhm.
What the hell? I mean, serious, like why? What? I'm gonna quit with that.
Their alternative,
I'm sorry.
alternative, that's their motives. They are, it's deflection. It's to try to deflect from them and place the blame somewhere else. Because we are becoming voiceful. We are becoming more involved in what they are doing. So it's a deflection.
And
So
I think
Right.
Maria's mic is not working too well right now, but I think she's also signaling that we're out of time.
okay,
Yes.
I'm sorry.
No worries. We had a flow.
And if I can just add one thing, there are federal oversight mechanisms. And in fact, on the 15th, there's going to be a hearing in the House Government Oversight Committee on white supremacists and law enforcement. So look for
Good.
that. And I think that will be an important start to recognize that you do have people that you can go to in the federal government as well.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate your being here. I do want to do that, but I wanted to get that gentleman's name. Was it Michael Horowitz?
Michael Horowitz. Michael Horowitz is the U.S. Department of Justice Inspector General. He has already got an investigation into the U.S. Marshals' conduct during the Portland protests that was requested by U.S. Attorney Billy Williams. So I would urge you to copy the Inspector General on the letter to Billy Williams, and the Justice Department's oversight of Justice Department lawyers is through their Office of Professional Responsibility, which is in Washington, D.C. So if you copy those are the oversight entities for what the U.S. Attorney is doing, and they'll be interested in knowing what the local concerns are.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
No,
Barely. Yeah.
I can't hear you.
It's
She's
an honor,
saying
Maria.
thank you, big hearts, and you guys have been fantastic. I am
And jazz hands.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
nice.
so proud of us. This is great. And we need to keep this conversation going. And I'm hoping that we can do this again. Your guys' information is invaluable. And, I think Michael said it, or one of you guys said something fantastic, which is we need to get this information out, and we need to start, Mary said it, and we need to unite and just keep this conversation going and keep educating people. You guys are awesome. I love my family.
And also, just to let everybody know, I got a note saying that to let everybody know, all the listeners know, that we'll get these comments from Mike transcribed as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Love you all.
Love you too. Bye.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah.